So part of this video is about my drive to Alaska. Was it worth it? So I'm gonna go through a couple of like kind of pros and cons, if you will, of driving to Alaska. Well, good morning everyone. I'm over here in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. Been here for a couple of days and I had a bit of a problem trying to find some places to stay all throughout northern New Mexico after I left Salida. I literally went to like 3 different places on the way to here to find a place that's free or next to free and has a good cell signal. It's been troublesome. So this is actually my camp spot for the night. It's out on national forest land just southeast of Albuquerque. But there's a lot of ATVs and a gun range nearby. And I need to go to the grocery store. I'm actually making Lily's food now. Because of that, I have to go to the grocery store, she's almost out, and get some more food for her. Well, I'm actually moving today, but I need coffee before I go. And I made some cold brew coffee. Finally figured out how to do it in the van that works. So I found this thanks to my cousin at vanlife.com. She posted this particular mason jar that has a filter and it comes in 1 quart or 2 quarts, and I'll link it down below in the description. I bought it on Amazon and I love it. It's minimalistic. It fits in my fridge. That was the problem, was finding something that would fit into my fridge. This is perfect. So it's ready. I started yesterday. I always let it brew for 24 hours. So let's check it out. So I'm going to pour in the rest of my coffee that I want here. Then I have my plant milk that I pour into this other jar because it's easier for the fridge. And I have my Thrive mushrooms. So after the mushrooms go in, we have cacao powder. I love this stuff. It is so good inside your coffee. And now we need to mix it up, but it does not mix up well with a spoon. I'm going to grab this little, I don't know, what is this, a blender? Frother. It's a frother. So the frother is going to froth it all up. No, not really. It's gonna actually just mix it up nice. Oh, I forgot the honey. Some honey. Cheers. Oh my god, this is so good. Lily, you ready to go? So I need to buckle you up, girl. Good girl. So I'm gonna go through a couple of like kind of pros and cons, if you will, of driving to Alaska. So let's start with the first one. The first one, let's just say, was it worth it? If I were to do it again, I probably would fly, because the drive up there is very, very long. And it was about 3,500 miles. 7,000 miles is round trip what I did. I started out in Salt Lake City, Utah, but that was the entire trip, 7,000 miles roughly. And I did that in about a month and a half. And that was super tiring. I did all the driving on my own. And I don't know about you, but you know, even though I live in a van, I don't like driving that long. It's just not one of the things that I really enjoy doing, especially in a short amount of time. So that was kind of one of the cons, although I knew this going into it, right? You have to drive to get there or fly and rent something. In my experience, I just drove too much. So I would probably spread it out over a little bit more time, but because of my own circumstances with having to work and when I needed to leave and when I needed to come back, it took me about a month and a half and it was exhausting. I literally, as you saw, stayed in a hotel for like 10 days. I coupled that with I was seeing a client over in Spokane, Washington. How do you like my new screen? I bought this new screen. I ripped off my other one because it was a pain to close. And the strings on it were getting loose and taut and loose and taut, and I tried to fix it and it didn't work. So back to the things that I really loved about Alaska and I didn't, and was it actually worth it? So one of the other things is gas, of course, is pretty expensive all throughout Canada. You pay by the liter, and so the further north you go, the more expensive gas is. Because of that, the trip was very, very expensive from the standpoint of gas, because you need so much of it. It's a 7,000 mile round trip for me. Food in general is a little bit more expensive there. Things are just more expensive. You have to, you know, import things all the way up to Alaska, either by truck, which they have to use gas to get up there, or by a boat, which again, it's just further north. So it's gonna cost a little bit more. All of these things, again, I knew before I left, But when I'm looking at everything as a whole, was it worth it is the question. It was expensive. So if you don't mind the cost and you know that ahead of time, you should be fine. Again, I probably would fly up there and just rent something. Maybe, I don't know yet. I mean, I haven't even looked into the cost of that, but it's an option. I saw a ton of people renting RVs there, and then you don't have the issue of your RV maintenance, of getting it all the way up there and taking care of it while you're up there, which, like, I had problems when I was there because, you know, I had the van fire, which if you haven't seen that, I'll link that here for you. But I had a van fire, bottomed out a couple of times, which is in some of my other videos. It's just a little bit rougher for you on the roads there. So if that's, you know, something that you're okay with and you have the type of RV or vehicle to go up there, then it's worth it. I'm gonna put all this up and then we're gonna get on the road. I need to make Lily's food today because I cannot store all of this in the refrigerator. It's just too much food to store in the fridge. I have to put some of it in the freezer for her. And it usually makes like a week and a half to 2 weeks of food for her. So I'll show you that process later. I'm gonna have some lunch slash brunch. This is my ahi spicy poke bowl. Back to you, is Alaska worth it? Let me turn this fan down just a little bit. One of the other things that happened while I was there is they had forest fire going on. So that kept me close to the peninsula because the fire was a little further north than the peninsula, and the peninsula is amazing. Like, I love it there. I was in Valdez and Homer. I tried to have a glacier cruise when I was in Whittier, but the weather just wasn't cooperating. I tell you, I had the weirdest things happen while I was there. But forest fires were going on. You can't help that. You never know when that's going to happen. Last year we had it on the Pacific Northwest a lot. This year they didn't. But I guess it was time for Alaska. So forest fires made it a little difficult to see things and get around. So you have that too sometimes. So if you're thinking about going to this place that is really far away and you're gonna spend the money to drive up there, you have to anticipate that weather may not be exactly how you thought it was going to be. And understand that it could either be colder or hotter, which it was really hot. They had record high temperatures while I was there, up to like 90 something degrees while I was in Anchorage. And the forest fire. So you have all of these things that could affect your trip, and you just have to know that before you go, because it happens anywhere you go. But this one in particular, you know, you're driving up there and it's just such a long ways to go that, you know, you have to ask yourself, if those things were happening, would it be worth it to you? It is time to eat. So this has salmon and rice and avocado and carrots, and I think that's cucumber maybe? Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways, it looks good. So we're gonna go eat now. So when you're traveling and you wanna make sure that your Berkey filter is working properly, you need to put some red dye, that was what that food coloring is, inside the top chamber. And if you find that it comes out the bottom chamber, well, then you know that your filters are not working properly, because the Berkey filter should filter that. So we'll see if we get some of that red dye. If we get some of that red dye, well, then either the filters are not seated properly or they're not working properly for some reason, and there's ways to go about trying to fix that without having to buy new filters first. It may not be that the filters are bad, it may just mean that something else is wrong, but we're gonna find that out soon. Check out this place. It's close to Santa Fe. It's off of a lake, Army Corps of Engineers. It's a paid campground, but there's hardly anybody here. Verizon works the best. Now this particular site has no hookups, but they do have access. There you can see there's a water spigot right there. Right there. There's bathrooms and showers up there. And there's a dump station as well. Anyways, it's beautiful out here. If you do have your America the Beautiful pass, it's half off. This site and all of this beauty, can't believe it, $12, half off, $6 a night. And it has showers. I didn't even realize that. It has showers, restrooms, dump, yeah. Reserved. So we're gonna stay here till October 3rd. I'm smiling like crazy. It's amazing. And you know, I usually don't pay for camping, but that's a pretty good deal, you have to admit. I mean, $6 a day. Beautiful area. It's very well maintained here. And showers to boot. Yeah, I'll pay that any day. To have all of this and it be so quiet out here, let's hope it stays that way. All right, we're gonna get to work. It is 3:30 and I've barely done any work today. So this is what I'm having for dinner. It's leftovers. I probably have like 3 or 4 meals out of it at least. Yeah, so back on the subject of, is it worth it going to Alaska? So one of the other things that I loved about Alaska, like my favorite place, I have 2 favorite places, Valdez and Homer. But Valdez was really special to me. I think it reminded me a little bit of Seattle as far as the weather. It kind of had a little bit of cloud cover. The sun would come out occasionally. It had a little bit of rain, but that's what makes it really beautiful around there. Plus it had that really beautiful glacier view park over there that was just amazing. I would go over there and meditate, and it had a beautiful free spot to stay where Homer did not. I had a lot of trouble in Homer trying to find a free place to stay. And even if you wanted to get an RV park, it was just jam-packed and there were so many people and it was even hard to get into places like that. So I would say Valdez and Homer are my favorite, Valdez probably being #1, and it was the cutest town, and it had restaurants and grocery, and it had a place where you could go and dump your tanks. And that was one of the other things about Alaska, is there's a ton of places to dump your tanks for free around there, gas stations or designated spots. So that's a huge place, and you can get potable water too for free. So that was really a huge plus there as well. I like that. And they're really diligent about having trash dumpsters in a lot of places, because I think because, you know, wildlife is prevalent there, and trash, food, things like that attract wildlife. So they made sure that they had some really nice places to dump your trash all throughout the towns and the highways, so that you weren't leaving it on the ground or, you know, where wildlife could get to it. So that's probably one of my other things that I really loved about that area. Actually had a little bit of a storm last night. Yeah, but it was really beautiful. I love hearing the rain and the smell of it. I just got up, so I am about to go make use of their showers. So going back to the things that I didn't like about Alaska, and was it worth it? The mosquitoes and the no-see-ums are like awful, awful, awful. So that part about Alaska, I didn't like. And they were literally all over the place. When I was in Homer though, if you're by the peninsula and the water where the breeze was blowing, it wasn't bad at all, because they just wouldn't come over in that particular area. In Valdez, they were pretty bad. Especially the place that I was staying at overnight, and then also just even by the boardwalk where the restaurants, the no-see-ums were really bad. So I was constantly having to put on mosquito repellent. And I did get the no-DEET one. I used the Thermacell. That actually worked pretty well too, but I didn't like carry that thing around with me when I was walking around everywhere. That was one of the things that I did not like. Now I'm gonna do some yoga, and you can't make fun of me. I usually do not care what people think about me at all, but when it comes to like exercising in front of people, I feel like, you know, I'm the big girl out there doing exercise, and people are gonna make fun of me for that, maybe because I've been bullied in the past for that. Interestingly, I have been bullied more as an adult having a YouTube channel than I have any other time in my life. And I really don't care what those people think about me either. They're on the YouTube channel that are making stupid comments about my weight and how I look. All right guys, so I'm going to interrupt that video that I'm editing right now. And yeah, my hair looks a little bit different, huh? You guys are seeing all different kinds of looks lately. But I wanted to stop that video and fill you in on something that's happened. Before the video that you're watching right now, it was 2 videos before this, I talked a lot about my vulnerabilities with weight loss and the struggles that I've had. And I had the most amazing lady reach out to me. Her name is Christine. She's from Irene, ironfitness.com. and she asked if we could work together, and she thinks that she could really help me. And so we talked on the phone, and I really liked what she had to say. Christine is an online personal trainer and nutrition coach, and her entire program, as her title suggests, is that it's online. So the thing that I love about Christine's program is that it is no diets whatsoever. Now you do some online journaling for your food, so you keep a food diary, which I've never really done before, but it's been super simple because you just snap pictures of your food and journal it online or through your app, which is really nice because you can use your phone for all of this. The other thing too is she has programs for you to work out, and you can just look at your phone. Now I'm sitting here talking about how I don't really like having the digital equipment to do online fitness, and this is really super simple because you really just scroll through it just like my cards that you're gonna see on my yoga here in a minute. So you just flip through the different exercises and you do them at your own pace, which I really love. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I love that there's this kind of accountability with her. She's also a fellow RVer. She's going to be speaking at the Escaper event here soon at the annual bash in January. So I am just so excited to work with her. And if you guys are interested in learning more about Christine and her program, I'm going to put a link down below that's to her website. It's ironefitness.com. If you click the link below and you decide that you do want to work with her, she does have a discount for people who come from my story chasing subscriber base. So click that link if you're interested, but I am super excited. I feel like for the first time in a long time, I'm actually able to really kind of focus and start getting healthy. Like the workouts in the last week, oh my gosh, my flexibility has changed so much, and I cannot even believe like what has transpired in just the last week. So I'm very excited to see where all this goes with Christine, and I'll be giving you guys some updates as I go along. All right, let's get back to the video. It's pretty ridiculous, and to me is just a reflection of who they are as a person. So based on all of that, I'm just gonna get out here and do my thing. I need to do yoga in order to regain my flexibility and help my back. So I've got to do this whether I'm in an urban area and I'll find a park, or whether I'm out boondocking somewhere. So you guys are gonna come along for the ride with me. And I am losing weight. I have been very lax in my weight loss in the last year. When I went to Alaska, as I said in one of my previous videos, part of that funk or depression that I was in was because I had gained probably about 15 to 20 pounds in the last year, and it's noticeable on camera. I didn't even want to edit the videos. I was so disgusted with myself, only because, you know I can do better, and so that's what I'm doing now. So one of the things that I found out about myself, especially through traveling, is I think I get sick of the electronic stuff. And if it's a workout video or something like that, I just don't want to come outside and turn on the video and work out. So I bought these yoga cards. So they have like, here's a warm-up card, and it tells you exactly what you need to do to warm up. It has a different sequence of cards to put in. So I'm doing a beginner one because I'm new to yoga and I'm trying to learn the moves. Here's one. You can see. It shows you what the pose is. It tells you how many breaths you should take, where it says that 6, 8, and 12 up here at the top, how many breaths to hold each move for, and then it also does some explanation on the back to how to actually perform the move. So I've actually loved these. So I'm still learning. So again, in the spirit of not being judgmental, don't judge me for my moves, because my flexibility is horrible right now and I'm trying to get my back in shape. But I'm going to show it anyways, because hopefully this will inspire somebody out there. My friend, actually, who is a Qigong instructor, Anthony, he commented to me one day, he's like, why are you so nervous about what people think about you out there doing your yoga moves or any kind of exercise in public? And I explained to him what I just told you guys. So he said, maybe you'll inspire other big girls around the world to get out there and do it too. So here's to all the other big girls out there to get out and move no matter what people think or no matter where you're at. So one of the other things that I really loved about Alaska was their fish. It's so fresh. You catch halibut. It was halibut season, so they were catching halibut while I was there. And I went to this place called Nat Shack in Valdez, and they had the best halibut tacos. Oh, I love them. I think I went like 3 or 4 times at least while I was there. But if you ever go to Valdez, go to the Nat Shack. I would say that most of the restaurants there are, they're all right. They're not amazing, but you know, it's not the culinary capital of the world in Alaska, but it was pretty good. Just know that it's going to be a little bit more expensive. One, because a lot of the dishes are fish. Fish tends to be expensive no matter where you're at. Just because they caught it there doesn't mean that because they caught it in the area and brought it into the restaurant straight from the boats, that it's going to be cheaper. It's not. One of the things I didn't like was, of course, the fact that when my van caught on fire and we needed to get parts shipped in, we couldn't get anything overnighted. We couldn't even load any parts on a plane. Sometimes you can ship in the cargo area, and because we didn't have an account with them and they have to do a background check, which is understandable, they said that we couldn't overnight anything. So I couldn't get some of the parts that I needed to get it fixed right away, so I'm gonna have to get it done here in the lower 48. But Gordon was actually able to fix my radiator hose. That was the thing that we were trying to get the part shipped in, was the full radiator hose. This one he just pieced together. He found some parts at Napa. That's one of the other downsides. If anything happens while you're there, parts are more limited to what they actually have in Alaska, and trying to get parts there is a little bit expensive and timely. So you have to think of that when you're going up there. All right, so yesterday, remember how I put the red food coloring inside the Berkey filter? I wanted to make sure my filters were working, so let's look in. You can see there's hardly any water in there. So it's all down in this chamber now. Yep, it's clear. No red dye. So thankfully that means the filter is working, yay. All right guys, I am hanging it up for the night, and Lily and I are gonna go take a walk, and then I'll see you in the morning. A beautiful morning. Lily, you think so too? I love waking up to moments like this. Sun is shining. Oh. So this is actually Lily's food that I made her. I make it in the Instant Pot. If you guys want me to show you how I make this food, go ahead and leave me a comment below and let me know, because this is super nutritious for her. She loves it. Such a beautiful morning here. Have my lemon water. I drink this in the morning, first thing, to get hydrated, especially in these drier climates. You really need to stay hydrated. So I wanted to go through one of my last points about, is it worth it going to Alaska? And that is one of the big things that I do as I work on the road, and so I need to have internet access, and that was really, really difficult going through Canada there. So I had to drive through those areas fairly quickly because I had stuff I needed to do. I was actually putting my course together. Surprisingly, I launched my course literally the day that I left to go to Alaska. Timing was crazy, but I had promised people that I was going to get it out, and so I did. The other thing is, when you get to Alaska, because I don't stay in RV parks very much, I like to boondock everywhere. It's just more beautiful, and you can move around and kind of do what you want and not have to be in one little location. So because of that, it made it a little bit more difficult because you have to be kind of near cities in order to have cell service. If you're out in more of the sparsely populated areas, there was no cell service at all. And those would be more of the advantageous places to stay because it's more beautiful and it's more, you know, it's Alaska. You get to stay by glaciers and mountains and stuff. So that part was really difficult. So you have to be prepared for that. If you work on the road, you know you're probably gonna have to stay closer to towns in order to get the cell signal. So it just really depends on where you're at. I was fine. Valdez had amazing cell signal for Verizon and AT&T. I have both hotspots. Homer, same thing. I didn't have any issues in those areas. Of course, Anchorage, the bigger cities, Fairbanks, but it's just more the sparsely populated areas. So the great news is that the third-party plan that I offer to all of you guys is what I'm on for AT&T as well, and it worked perfectly there. In fact, AT&T was king in Alaska, and I'll put a link below if you want to get signed up on that plan. It's unheard of. AT&T is not offering it to anybody. It is through a third party, and there are specially negotiated rates just for story chasing subscribers. So it's unthrottled, it's not capped, and it's unlimited, and that is unheard of. So go ahead and click that link below if you want to get signed up on that plan. especially before prices ever go up. If you get on the plan now before prices go up, you're grandfathered in and you'll never have a price increase. It's a pretty amazing deal. All right, so 2 more things that I wanted to talk about before we wrap up this video. One is your pets. So Lily is a small dog. She's always, you know, one of those dogs that could be, she's only 10 pounds, so she could easily be eaten by birds of prey or picked up by a coyote. So you need to be careful with your animals as well. Also, there's a ton of eagles there, and eagles will, hawks, owls, they will pick up little dogs for sure. So you have to be really, really careful with them too. Keep them on a leash as much as possible. Wait, are you being all lovey today? Her paw's doing much better too, by the way. Look at it. It's so much better. She's barely swollen right there, but it's so much better, and she's feeling better. She's playing more. My sweet girl. I hate it when she feels bad. So the other thing too is going there alone. So as a solo traveler, I mentioned earlier that when you're driving, you're gonna have to do all the driving yourself, and that in and of itself can get tiring. So I mentioned that to you before. So the other part about that though is when you're actually wanting to go out and hike, you are part of the food chain in Alaska. So they have moose, grizzly bear, and black bear, and you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you could be hurt if you're hiking by yourself. So usually what they say is you need to hike in at least 3. Now, of course, you can still be attacked or come up on a grizzly or a wild animal and still get hurt, but the chances are less likely that they're going to approach if there's 3 people together. I didn't get out and hike because of that, so that was a real bummer because it's a beautiful, beautiful area to go hiking. So you have to keep that in mind too if you are a solo person. So my final summary of is it worth it going to Alaska with all of the things that I've talked to you about, I'm going to say, for me, no. I probably wouldn't do it again the way that I did it. I would make some changes. All of the things combined that were happening while I was there, not only just the driving and everything that was going on with me for this particular trip, it was not worth it. So I'm giving it a thumbs down just because of my circumstances. But again, I've given you guys some information that hopefully will help mitigate your circumstances before you decide to go and you start planning your trip. Guys, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that notification bell to be notified every time I have a video that comes out. And if this is your first time coming here and seeing my videos, my name is Amber. I make these videos after I quit my job and sold everything that I have, my house and all my contents included, and went out on the road a little over 2 years ago in my RV. And I make these videos to help inspire you guys and show you guys a different way of living that doesn't have to be in that traditional life, and a more minimalist way of living. Less stuff and more stories in your life. The next video coming up is actually going to be a playlist of all of my Alaska trips. So if this is your first time coming here or your second time, you can start the playlist from the very beginning and see everything that I did on preparing to go to Alaska and all the way to the very end. All right guys, see you tomorrow.